Good morning, YouTube. Have you ever had sex in your car? Because we sure have. Sex in our cars, sex with our cars. We've done it, well, maybe not with, maybe
I
well, in April's
believe
case.
you.
Jake, I'm sure you've had sex in your car. Yeah.
You've probably, never mind. Little tailpipe action.
A rusty tailpipe? Are you out of your mind?
I didn't say rusty.
There's plenty of other soft surfaces to, nice, soft rouge leather. Anyway.
That's terrible. We're going to get canceled.
There's a couple that is in the headlines for doing it in the back of their Range Rover. And it looks like it is an Evoque Sport, Range Rover Sport Evoque.
Well, they're smaller then.
Well, unfortunately, they got a little too rambunctious and knocked the shifter into neutral. And you can see there's the recovery attempt. It rolled from wherever they were parked. It looks like it was a pretty very romantic spot. Rolled into a body of water. And for whatever reason, they confessed that they were getting busy and knocked it into neutral. And the thing rolled down the hill into the water. And that's how it happened.
Wouldn't you just say, like, we were hanging out in the car, wrestling?
This is in the police report. They were engaged in sexual activity at the time, around 4:27 a.m. on August 28th, and they were parked on Kelly Drive. The gear was disengaged.
That sounds very dangerous and suspicious. Who does that at 4:30 in the morning in their car? Like, I feel like there's something more to the story. Like, they're not supposed to be there. And so, because a car is an easy place to kind of sneak around in, I guess.
Right.
And if you're by, like, the water and...
It's the middle of the night. You pull into a park.
Right.
You start, kissing. One thing leads to another. But I'm kind of fascinated by this because the Range Rover Sport Evoque, it looks sort of similar to the convertible that I have that I'll be selling soon. It's one of those knobs.
Right.
It's a twist knob that I thought that you had to like hit the brake pedal and twist the knob.
Well, maybe this is an older version.
No, it looks like actually a few years newer than mine, but I think it's the same thing as a shift knob, which I think requires you to hit the brake to do it. So that's I'm trying to just figure out the logistics of it because it would make sense logically in an SUV to go into the back seat.
Right, of course.
But it seems like that they were just so excited that they like over the front seat or whatever.
It has to be the front seat.
Like if he's sitting in the driver's seat.
Right. Are you going to reenact this in the Evoque?
I'm just trying to mentally picture like how could this happen? And it just seems like if he hasn't moved from his driver's seat position and he's sort of bracing to be stable.
Sorry.
And or she has one leg on either side and then his foot's somehow on the brake, but then she somehow, like, I don't know, going from
her knee
like to reverse it or something,
maybe.
And twisted it that way, and then it rolls. But then, is it so voracious that you don't realize that you're starting to roll?
Yeah, because you're in the moment, like you're not paying attention to what's going on around
like
you.
That mind-altering, like expanding experience that you don't even realize the world around you has begun to move.
I mean, they're in public, so your senses are a little different. I mean, you're doing something. I feel like that's illegal too, like indecent something, like in public where people can see you because the windows are clear, and you're not allowed to do that in public, right?
So an RV is you're not supposed to do it in an RV?
Well, it's all boarded up, like windows.
Okay, well, what if you put up a curtain or something? I don't know. Or you have really good window tinting.
In this case, there was no curtains.
Well, I didn't see. It didn't look like they were arrested. I think that was just the police report because nobody saw anything. The Range Rover is definitely totaled. It took 2 hours for the crew to retrieve the car. And,
That's scary, actually.
Coming to a Copart near you, Tavares, there's your car, right? So, maybe that would trigger a transmission recall for Land Rover due to...
No.
Not really. Because, I mean, also, like on the nicer Land Rovers, not like this one, like it pops up a little bit like a little happy to see you thing, like on the big Range Rovers. On this one, it's just a knob that stays stationary. So
I don't know
maybe the car was involved in it. Like I said, it was...
it's like a Christine type of car, like Stephen King. And
possibly.
It has its own. It didn't like it. It was jealous of the girl. And it's like, I'm going to dump you in the water.
What would be the ideal car to get busy in?
Anything large, anything big with a bigger front seat, bigger back seat.
So you get picked up in a kidnapper conversion van. Because you have to have... the car that's not creepy and big and obnoxious, but at the same time adaptable to this.
This is a very important topic by the way. I'm glad we're discussing this. But I do feel like maybe the second generation Bronco, because they got the big captain's chairs up front, right? And so that might be a lot of room, and you can recline them like a lazy boy back and forth.
Yeah, I was thinking like land yachts would be a good one. But then there's the cars that are made to be converted into camping situations, which would be easily adaptable to this. So like a Honda Element,
Right.
Honda,
that's not sexy
a Honda
at
Fit
all.
folds all the
You're
way
gonna
down.
talk about like a cube
practical,
now.
younger people are doing this.
It's not sexy.
Yeah, a Honda.
Next you're gonna say a
Element.
Subaru something.
Yeah, Subarus, I think they have some fold down things and stuff. That wouldn't be the worst. Yeah.
And I disagree. I think it has to be something big with enough space in it, though you've configured in smaller.
With transmissions that don't get knocked into gear or out of gear easily.
Right.
But yeah, I was like, what is related to this topic? Because if we're talking about this for 10 or 15 minutes, people are going to get... one or
Creeped
two things are going to
out
happen. They're going to get excited or creeped out. Mostly, I imagine me talking about that is creeping you out, and I apologize for that. So, segue. Speaking of transmissions.
I think you would say trans. Okay, trans. I'm sorry.
Well, next big lawsuit coming around the corner here with General Motors, actually.
Okay.
So a judge told them that they have to face a class action lawsuit over transmission problems on 800,000 cars.
What?
And this is like spanning from 2015 to 2019. Silverados, Suburbans, Yukons, CTS, CT6. There's a shudder or shake in high gears. It's not a total failure type thing, but it's definitely like, okay, this transmission becomes really buggy and bad.
Okay.
And I guess it was a widespread enough problem that someone has filed a class action lawsuit on it, which I had no idea.
It's getting traction?
Yeah, the judge has agreed that this case can be sent to a court. But GM's argument was that most people never experienced this problem, and that there were too many different class members. Like 800,000 people, that's just too many people to be in a class action lawsuit. Because if you have this car or own this car, and eventually it will be defective, then you get some kind of settlement, or if you had the problem, you get a different kind of settlement. So this would be a very expensive thing.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it, because with the way cars are going, new cars, there's just so many of these stupid little problems, with 8-speed, 10-speed transmissions, engine problems, all this stuff. It's widespread how complicated new internal combustion technology is. Where the only way to keep these people accountable, because they don't care about anything past the warranty.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be this way, being sue happy, which is kind of,
well, it's the American way, right?
I suppose it is, but yeah, I didn't even know this, which actually...
So you don't have any of these in your fleet of hoopties?
That's the thing. I am so far behind when it comes to like hoopty buying. Like I go to the auctions and I see these, they feel like new cars to me. 2015 feels like a car that was made yesterday to me, because I just don't keep up and don't know. So they're at the auction. A normal GMC Yukon or a Suburban with 120, 30,000 miles. I'm thinking, oh yeah, that thing's probably good for another 100, 200,000 miles.
Nope, not anymore.
Not like the old Escalade out there.
You're a beautiful girl out there, yes, I understand. Nothing will
just,
ever compare.
They're not built to
Now you're
that
gonna
same
say
level.
They don't make them like they used to.
It's actually true.
Yes.
Actually true. And unfortunately, we're getting more and more of these complicated dual clutch automatic, 10-speed, 500-speed automatic transmissions, and less manuals. And that was some other news recently, as we're getting rid of a lot of manual transmission cars here actually this year.
Really? Oh no.
Yeah, so by the end of 2025, the Mitsubishi Mirage 5-speed manual transmission option will be gone.
Does that upset you? No, I didn't think so.
I mean, that used to be like if you wanted the cheapest bare bones car, it was with a stick shift manual transmission. And now that's gone with
people
the
aren't buying
cheapest
them,
car in America.
Because the problem is, and we all know we do it, we're not supposed to, but you're looking at your phone, you don't have a free hand to work it.
But yeah, the Mitsubishi Mirage riding off into the sunset. Goodbye. Not really going to say that one's such a sad thing, but the sad thing is the Porsche
That's wrong.
718, the Boxster.
How could they do that?
Goodbye.
Why would they do that?
Because the replacement is going to be electric. So the 911 is on this list, I believe, going down to it. But then they're replacing the Boxster with a fully electric car, so you don't really have a manual electric vehicle. So this is the end of the line 2025, the Cayman and Boxster. If you want an internal combustion manual transmission, this is probably it.
Maybe they could do something with the electric cars and make them manually make you make electricity.
Well, and
So it's some wheel somehow that you have to grind it down while you're
I
driving,
mean, they
right?
do in the EV conversion cars where if you EV swap, say, a Volkswagen Beetle or a Porsche, you leave the manual transmission in there, but it's one of those things where you just put it in a gear and leave it in the gear the entire time. You don't have to worry about the clutch at all. So it does make a difference with the gear ratio, like how much the transmission is wound up, but really most people will leave them in second, third, or whatever, and it'll launch a little faster in whatever gear you're in. But you don't need to row your own gears anymore.
I mean,
with the
I
electric
feel like they
motors.
have to be doing this for a reason. People just aren't buying manual cars as much as they used to.
It's our fault. Yeah, Volkswagen GTI 6-speed manual transmission going away. Same with the Golf R going away. Mini Cooper, another one going electric. So the 6-speed manual transmission in the base Mini Cooper hardtop, no more. Gone. Kia Forte, another one of those cheap, cheery cars, no more.
No more.
No more manual transmission option on that one. And the Chevrolet Camaro, since it's on its way out, Camaro's gone, no replacement really announced that I know of. Like I said, I don't keep up as much with new cars, but yeah. The Honda Civic, another one, base model having a manual transmission, gone. Gonzo. Volkswagen with their Jetta and their base model, they're getting rid of the manual transmission. Once again, in Europe, this is still something that would be very much desired and popular, but they're pulling out of it here in the U.S. Yeah, speaking of pulling out, going back to that article, and the Porsche 911, like I mentioned, being replaced with a hybrid right now. So the new 911 they're launching, they're not talking about manual transmissions yet, but they'll have one.
Right.
First, I guess they're going to launch with whatever PDK thing, but then the manual, I assume, will come later because people will scream if they don't have it in the 911. But for now, no more.
That is wrong. How old were you when you learned to drive stick? So I feel like every guy, I'm being sexist, a girl should too, but like every guy, you get your man card once you learn how to drive manual well.
It was like December 1999.
How do you know so specifically?
Oh, we're talking about which stick?
What do you mean, which stick?
No, Jerry Ryan and 7 of 9. Never mind. No, I don't really remember how when. It was in high school when I learned how to drive a manual transmission.
Like, did your dad kind of coach you through that, or something you took upon
No,
yourself?
it was a friend of mine that showed me how, just like in '99.
Wait, stop it! That's so creepy.
Wait.
Please no. Please no. What car was it? Do you remember?
A Zuzu Trooper.
Yeah. I'm so worried about you.
It might have been the same person for both.
Stop it, Jake.
Thank
What's
you so
happening,
much
Jake?
for watching.
Jake.
I mean, someone has to show you how.
No, that's not how it works.
Self-discovery? Does people self-discover like the man who found fire? Like he showed people.
I'm going. I can't.